Remember the days we had to shell out $500 plus just to get a decent guitar? I sure do. But these days it seems like we are spoiled for choice when it comes to affordable instruments. So today I thought it would be interesting to look at Squire's entire range, look at some approximate costs, what they offer, and maybe even share some of my favorite standouts in the range. Now let's start with the mini series. Now these guitars are really only good for kids who are getting started. They're very small, they're like half size. Most kids are going to start off with an acoustic or a classical guitar, but honestly, it's really nice to have an electric option for them. You know, some people are just set on having an electric guitar and playing their favorite songs, and that's cool. And for what these are, they play pretty well. I've played a few of them, not too many, but yeah, they're not bad. They might be a hair expensive at $189, but it is pretty good to have an option from a larger brand that can guarantee some quality, especially since they offer Strat and even Jazzmaster shapes in that form factor. Now to the new Sonic series. The Sonic series replaced the Bullet line for Squire's budget series. And these are going to be the base model for most players who are looking to get started, starting out at just $199. It's a great deal. Now these have some pretty big shoes to fill because I've reviewed the Bullet series in the past and I had a lot of great things to say about them. How they felt, what they sounded like. They were actually surprisingly good. But the only significant thing the Sonic changes from the Bullet is a switch to a synthetic bone nut in the Sonic as opposed to the plastic one in the Bullet. Now that's a good change, especially when the lineup now expands to Strats, Tallies, and Mustangs, along with a bunch of pickup variety in SSS and HSS and all kinds of things. And they added a bunch of colors this time around, which make the line much more attractive. Colors like Tahitian Coral, California Blue, Flash Pink, and a whole lot more. It's really never been a better time to be looking for a budget instrument when Squier offers these for just $199. Out of the Sonic range, I'm a big fan of the black on black with HSS. One of the most popular lines that Squier has is the Affinity, and for good reason. For just an extra $50 or $100, you get a lot of upgrades from the Sonic series. Better quality hardware and pickups, more variety, the really cool looking 70s headstock, and in addition to Strats, you now get Tellys, Jaguars, and Starcasters in all kinds of colors and new pickup configurations. From flat colors to sunbursts, natural, and even some quilted tops. The value for money on the new Affinity series is just way too out of this world for you to not try out. I even have a Squier Affinity Strat right here, and if I was to pick a favorite out of the line, it would probably be this Telecaster with a flame maple top and a humbucker in the bridge. For only $300, it's pretty nuts. Now the Classic Vibe series is my personal sweet spot for Squier. At around $450 depending on the model, this is the range that Squier goes all in on. These are classic spec guitars that get the highest quality parts, finishes, and offerings from Squier. You can get a Classic Vibe in any of the standard Fender shapes that lean toward the 50s, 60s, and 70s models of Fender. If somebody comes to me and says they're serious about learning electric guitar, I'll oftentimes suggest they buy a Classic Vibe of some form. These are inexpensive enough for most people to buy, but also varied enough for pretty much everyone to find something that they like. But the best thing is that they're also high quality enough that they're going to last a while, even as you start gigging with friends. You won't need to upgrade one of these in a while. You may want to, but you won't need to. I like a lot of the Classic Vibe series, but for this video, I'm probably going to pick this Olympic White Jazzmaster for only $429. Squier's contemporary line is one that I don't really jive with, to be honest. The colors, styling, and pickups are really not what I'm after when I'm looking for a guitar personally, but if you're looking for something a little bit different, a little bit more modern, heavy, gritty, this might be exactly what you're after. They're definitely not the classic leaning styles of the Classic Vibe or even the Affinity series, but for just over $400, these fill a gap that not really much else fills in the price range. Some of their defining features are their roasted maple necks, which I do love, the SQR humbuckers, and styling that really wouldn't look out of place at a Dragon Force concert. Like I said, really not my styling, but this blue Starcaster with blacked out hardware, I'd rock it. Now the Paranormal range, has some of my favorite Squier guitars that they make. These are guitars that Squier just says, screw it, and make whatever they like. A 12-string Jazzmaster, sure. Or a classic Troublemaker in Aztec Gold, absolutely. Maybe a Strat with half a pickguard and P90s, done. Or this monstrosity, okay. Paranormal range is just anything that nobody asked for, but gives us, the player, so much tonal variety in so many different looks, it's really hard not to buy them all. Did I mention they start out at just $330? That is nuts. If I had to pick a favorite out of all of these, it's probably this offset telly with a P90 in the neck. It's so ugly that I love it. Finally, the Artist series. This is the line where Squier honors a guitarist for their contribution to music by giving them a special model to their spec, and they usually only do one or two at a time. And right now, there's just one. That's the J Mascis Signature Series Jazzmaster. A couple videos I said I didn't know who this was. Honestly, I still don't know who it was. I got a lot of flack then. Feel free to give me some flack in the comments. These guitars are usually specially modified in a way to match the artist's guitars, relatively closely, and what they can do for the price. And I'm not really a fan of them, to be honest. I'm sure they play great, and I'm sure some of them are phenomenal. I've actually heard the J Mascis Jazzmaster is very good. But for me, I prefer the classic styling. I prefer something a little bit more standard, I guess. So I'd probably go with one of the other lines. But if you're a huge J Mascis fan, or whoever they're honoring at this point, go for it. But overall, what's most impressive to me is that Squier can fit so many guitars, so many different varieties, from classic to contemporary to artist series, all within the price range of $189 to $499. That is crazy to me. And for that price, what are you sacrificing? Not a whole lot. And if I could tell Squier anything, if they'd listen to me, would be to roll their fretboard edges on their higher end instruments, maybe the classic vibe in the artist series, because that really improves the feel in a big way. But to be honest, a lot of what they do currently is pretty good for the price. But yeah, Fender and other brands do the rolled fretboard edges and include hard cases and have higher quality blah, 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 blah. But for what Squier offers within that price range, I don't think you can beat it. But most importantly, what do you think?